My husband wants me to terminate my baby from a one-night stand, and everyone seems to agree with him. Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. My husband, 38 male, and I, 40 female, tried to get pregnant since we got married 14 years ago to no avail. When I started nearing 40, I told him that I will be frank with him. I feel too old and too tired to try anymore. Maybe we should be enough for each other. This was 2 years ago. I felt like something in him died after I told him that, and things went south. December last year, he asked for a separation. He said that he loved me, but that he wasn't happy. I was broken. We both were, but that's life sometimes. Anyways, I thought he just wanted a break, but not even a week later, I heard he slept with a mutual friend of ours. I was heartbroken, and I called him crying and yelling. He said that we were separated. What did you think separated means? I cried and yelled some more and hung up. He texted me the next day asking how I was feeling. He never meant to hurt me. It just happened, blah, blah, blah. I didn't answer him. I took a week sick and only my closest colleagues knew what happened because they needed to cover my work. At the Christmas party, a colleague approached me and told me he was sorry to hear the news from my closest colleagues. I ended up telling him everything and he ended up taking me home to his apartment. It was just that one time. I felt embarrassed around him and I told him that it was just that one time and he said he's sorry to hear that because he thought I was awesome. Now I'm pregnant and I know it's his. I haven't had sex in several months before that. My first instinct is to keep her. I don't know why, but I feel like it's a her. I just don't know what to do. I told my mom, who was angry with me and told me this won't end well. She told my husband. He showed up at my door within an hour. So you're getting rid of it, right? No. He started crying and asking how I could do this to him, begging me to take him back. We love each other. We are meant to be together. I was right. We are enough. Just the two of us. Maybe we can get blessed with our own baby. No. Didn't you tell me that you were getting old and tired of trying and wanted us to be enough for each other? I don't know what he means by that. I didn't plan any of this. Nobody is listening to me and everybody thinks I'm crazy for keeping a child from a one-night stand. I told my colleague I was keeping her and he said he wanted to be in her life and raise her with me, even if we didn't end up together. Update. My husband wants me to terminate my baby from a one-night stand and everyone seems to agree with him. Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. I have now filed for divorce for my husband. Believe it or not, when he got the papers, he kicked me out of our home. So now I rent a small attic room at one of my senior coworkers' house. She and her husband live alone and they're very tidy and clean. I love that she did this for me because she doesn't rent out rooms otherwise, but she simply just felt sorry for me. My family shut the door in my face. Initially, I thought that they were just disappointed that my marriage was over because they loved my husband like a son. But now I don't know if I can make any more excuses for them. They know that I had been kicked out of my home and that I spent some weeks sleeping on my friends' couches until I found this room that I can call mine. Yet, no one felt that now was the time to reach out a helping hand. I'm now looking for my own place to buy. I've learned a hard lesson, that everything can turn on its head in a matter of weeks, and that you can become homeless and that the people that you thought were your safety net were all just cobwebs. My colleague and I are still dating. I think we're falling hard for each other. He thought I was unnecessarily stubborn not moving in with him, but how could I? If we are to ever succeed as a couple, I need to be with him from a place of equality. Only then can we know that this love is pure. He thinks I'm crazy for thinking like that, but he respects my wishes. I recently found out who my daughter's father is, and I don't know how to feel. Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. I, 24 female, have known my husband, 27 male, since I was 8, when he moved in across the street. He was like an older brother to my twin brother, and me, because we had no other siblings. My dad was gone a lot because he was a lineman. The only person I really had was my mom. I was kind of a rebellious teen, and I'd sneak out all the time. At the time, I had never really had a boyfriend because anybody was afraid of my brother. When I was 15, I snuck out and went to a party. I don't remember what happened that night, but I woke up in the backseat of my car covered in a blanket with my jacket over my head. I was hurting and confused, but I continued with life regularly. A few months after, I went to the school nurse because I wasn't feeling too well. She gave me a pregnancy test and I told her that it was impossible because I didn't even have a boyfriend. The test was positive and I cried because I didn't remember ever doing anything like that. They called my mom and the nurse told me to tell my mom because she shouldn't be the one to tell her. I told my mom I was pregnant, but that I've never done anything like that to have a baby. My mom took me to the doctor and they told her I was too far along to abort. They told me how far along I was and I told my mom how I woke up in the backseat of my car that day. I had my daughter a few months later and she looked exactly like me. My green-blue eye color, my blonde curly hair, she even had my full lips. My now husband started coming over more after she was born. He was so good with her, I started to see him as more than a friend. He bought her shoes, clothes, toys. He made sure she had everything, even though he was just... Part 2. I recently found out who my daughter's father is, and I don't know how to feel. Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. He made sure she had everything, even though he was just a college student. When my daughter was around 3, we started to date. We dated for 6 months before he asked me to marry him at his graduation party. We got married 4 months after that, and I got pregnant with our son soon after. Everything was so perfect, but as my daughter grew, I noticed how much she started to look more like my husband. He always says she's his daughter, not stepdaughter, and he'd get mad if somebody tried to correct him. I thought it was sweet that he was protecting her from not knowing who her father was. I recently did a DNA test to see if my gut was right. It turns out my husband is my daughter's father. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what happened. If I ask him if he remembers, how will he react? He's always been so loving and caring. He told me I was his dream girl and he'd give me the entire world if he could. It's been a week since I got the results and I haven't said anything. My life is so perfect and I don't even want to ask about it. We sat down and talked and I asked him if he remembers the last party I went to in high school, and he said not really. He said he remembers waking up in the bathroom floor in his friend's guest room, and I was in bed, and when he tried to wake me, I told him to leave me alone. He said he didn't want to leave me in some random friend's house, so he carried me home. I told him I didn't remember who my daughter's father is, and it happened at that party. He offered to take a paternity test, and he's pretty sure that he's not my daughter's biological father. One is scheduled for tomorrow. My husband got my best friend pregnant. Disclaimer, this is not my story, this is an anonymous submission. So I'll try to keep this short. She was my best friend since 2nd grade. We've been through everything together. My heart hurts so much. I remember I was there for her when her mom died, literally sobbing in my arms at 17. I've given her clothes, food, shelter during hard times. Recently, she had come to stay again after being evicted due to not paying her rent. She looked me dead in my face and congratulated me on my pregnancy. Even had dinner with me and my husband every night, and even made sure she cleaned the house so I didn't have to. Come to find out yesterday, she took a pregnancy test, told me to sit on the couch. I was confused why she needed me to sit down, but the look on her face told me everything. I asked her why. She said she didn't know why she did it. Maybe she was just too lonely and my husband was just available. I just left. I couldn't muster any words. I'm at a motel right now feeling my baby kick. My husband keeps blowing up my phone saying, "Let's talk." But I don't want to talk. I'm calling my dad in the morning to help me pack my stuff. If he wants her so bad, they can have this baby together. Years of friendship and my marriage just gone. She's ruined everything. My best friend ruined everything. I know my husband is also at fault. I'm just more hurt about my best friend. I knew her way before I even knew what love was, and she does this to me. My aunt's life is unraveling because she refused to pay me for some art I did. Disclaimer, this is not my story, this is an anonymous submission. My Aunt Jay, by marriage, asked me to do several pieces of art for her real estate business. I'm in school and I'm positive that I told her that I would need to be paid. I'm also positive that she agreed to pay me. She was difficult, refused to accept drafts, and then hated the finished products. I was out tons of time and money, and then I tried to wash my hands of her. Out of the blue, she wanted me to fly out on my own time to paint her office mural. I let her know I would have to be paid for previous work, and she exploded on me. That exposure from people like her would be a great experience for people like me. That was Monday morning. First thing Tuesday morning, I had a meeting with my school's legal advisor, and she helped me draft a letter stating since no legal transfer of ownership had taken place, my Aunt Jay was to cease using any of my work immediately. We also wrote up an invoice for my time, materials, and shipping, up to that point with a very friendly 15% family discount. I was trying to handle this like an adult and not involve my parents or my uncle, but maybe an hour and a half after I pressed send on the email, my mom called me. My mom let me know that Aunt Jay called and completely chewed her out over me being an ungrateful brat, so she wanted to know what was going on. I explained the situation to her and I apologized because I was really trying to handle it myself. She was apologetic and mad and revealed that Aunt Jay had been pulling this kind of BS ever since she married my uncle. My mom really wished I would have called her first so she could advise me to avoid ever doing anything for her. Aunt Jay got a real estate license last fall and had been telling my uncle that she was a lock to be a franchisee for a nationwide real estate company. My mom called a local office and asked who she should talk to because one of their agents had commissioned several thousands of dollars worth of professional promotional materials and was refusing to pay. She was on the phone with whoever was the highest ranking agent in my hometown, and they were all incredibly confused because all local offices had a promotional materials contract with the local graphic design company. My mom gave him Aunt Jay's name and holy shit. Part 2. My aunt's life is unraveling because she refused to pay me for some art I did. Disclaimer, this is not my story, this is an anonymous submission. Aunt Jay was using this multi-million-dollar real estate company's name and materials when she wasn't even a part of the company. I mean, this is a huge deal, and she could literally be facing years of legal trouble. She is almost certainly going to lose her license if the real estate company pursues her. But it gets even deeper than this. Aunt Jay had just bought a huge new Cadillac Escalade over Christmas, and since she said it was for work, she told my uncle that the real estate company was helping her finance it. My dad called my uncle to let him know what my mom had found out. Just as a heads up, my uncle freaked out because obviously if she wasn't a part of the real estate company, then she wasn't getting the generous financing terms from the real estate company on her new $80,000 car. My uncle ran his credit, and it looks like Aunt Jay had taken out 2 credit cards in his name and maxed them out. He thanks for the down payment on this car. So, not only was Aunt Jay screwing me over, she was in a roundabout way stealing the established name of a multi-million-dollar company, but she also committed identity theft against her own husband too. So now she's been exposed because she refused to pay me. My uncle is contacting divorce attorneys immediately and hopes he doesn't get taken down by the real estate company in case they decide to pursue real legal action against her. He's going to have a lawyer advise him on what to do about the identity theft. Aunt Jay is screwed. She should have just paid me.